For all the advancements this world has in bionics and stuff, like I kind of wish they would make technology so that people wouldn't have to wait 4 years before getting their braces off. So the 2014 version of RoboCop is directed by a guy whose name is apparently pronounced Jose Padilha, and where I'm from we pronounce it Jose, but everyone in the interviews called him Jose, so I guess I'll just call him Jose. And this movie was written by Joshua Zetumer, if I'm saying that correctly, and stars Joel Kinnaman, Gary Oldman, Michael Keaton, Abby Cornish, with a lot of other people in it. So in RoboCop, it's like the year 2028, I think, and America has been sending out robotic security pretty much to all the other countries in the world from this corporation called Omnicorp. For some reason, these countries don't have a say whether or not they want robots on their streets, but apparently Americans have a say, and they don't want robots without consciousness to, be guarding them, and they want, something with a conscience. And this cop named Alex Murphy becomes the victim of like a mob-related or gang-related thing that almost leaves him dead, and they get him and pretty much put him into a suit of armor, and he essentially becomes RoboCop. Yeah. Now take note, I'm going to be reviewing this movie from the point of view of someone who has never seen the original movie. But the very interesting thing to me about this movie, I don't know if the original is like this, is that this movie felt like a documentary at point. That it is both a compliment and like a criticism. What I mean by this is it kind of took, in my opinion, brains over heart. This movie is very much about these ideas, these very morally ambiguous issues. And while that is really, really fascinating, sometimes the dramatic elements are kind of weak, yeah. Also, I kind of find the trailer misleading because it makes the movie look like an action movie, and to me, it really isn't. Like, there are barely any action scenes here. It's very much a science fiction movie, in my opinion. So it was still really interesting to me. Interesting also was the fact that I was thinking during the movie that this feels like a documentary. When I got home, I looked up the director's name, and lo and behold, his first film, which was very well received, was a documentary. So I can kind of see maybe that's like his style. But this is a fictional movie with a narrative and stuff. So sometimes even if he's like adept at making documentaries, that's not always good for a movie with a story to tell and with characters that you should care about. So yeah, speaking of characters, the guy who plays RoboCop here, or Alex Murphy, his name is Joel Kinnaman. I hear he's really good in a TV show called The Killing, but I don't watch TV, so I can't really judge him. I don't think I can judge him really as an actor, but him in this role, it didn't really feel all that good to me because, Alex Murphy is he's supposed to feel human before he turns into a robot. But, the character of Alex Murphy before he becomes RoboCop didn't really have that much personality, or that he didn't really show any big emotions, like, so it did kind of feel like nothing really changed when he went from Alex Murphy to RoboCop. And like I was saying, this movie kind of felt like a documentary at points, and it really, to me, it does not feel like RoboCop's story, because for there's a big section of the movie where he's not really in it. You just hear about what RoboCop's doing in the news and stuff. Like, for me, the character here with the most complete arc is Gary Oldman's character. He plays like a scientist named Dr. Dennett Norton, and he really does get like the most to do in terms of like emotions and stuff, because he at first does not really support putting this guy into a machine, but then he eventually just has to do it, kind of, and it's really cool to see like his stance on this whole issue. Writing wise, it's very much like the directing in the sense that it does the intellectual stuff much, much better than the dramatic stuff. The dramatic stuff really does feel kind of bland, while the intellectual stuff really keeps you thinking. But again, this is a narrative, so I kind of felt like the pacing was a bit off in a lot of parts, especially like at the ends of the movie, like the start and the ending. The starting kind of takes a while to get started, and the ending, it just feels like it's over too fast. However, I really do feel like this movie elevates itself above other remakes, because that's the trend now, to remake a famous sci-fi or action movie way back in like the 80s or the 70s. And I think this movie does it better because it really tries to go in a really interesting direction. I'm really not sure what the original RoboCop is like, but I highly doubt it's like this. But it's interesting that they took a risk by not trying to copy off the original completely. So yes, I can still recommend this movie. It's not a B movie though, like it's not that kind of pulpy action or whatever, but it is very interesting. It's not, I wouldn't say it's good per se. I wouldn't really say that because it really is like super inconsistent, and it does lack a lot of heart. It's still cool to watch if you're into the whole idea of robotics and stuff. I'm not sure though about the fans of the original. They might completely hate it, so I don't know. We'll see. Okay, there's a dog barking and it won't shut up. Like every time I open my mouth, it barks. So whatever, I'm gonna wrap this up. Whatever you guys thought of RoboCop, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree, please leave me a comment and let's have a conversation.